Hi, Shalom Aleichem, and I'm so excited to be able to share a little bit of an insight for Sparks of Nechama, a project of Elecha, an incredible space that is cultivating spirituality and speaking to Panemius HaNeshamos. When it comes to Nechama, when it comes to the deep secret of what it means to find comfort, so we have a very interesting insight that's given over in the name of Rav Moshe Shapiro Zchus Yogen Aleinu, utilizing a klal that's developed from Rav Tzadok HaKohen Melublin, as well as the Vilna Gaon. When it comes to trying to understand the essence of something, when a person wants to understand the muhus hadavar, the essential thing, so one of the tools that we have at our disposal is to look for the first iteration of that idea within the Torah itself. And the first place that you find a certain word or a certain concept is not simply the first in a sequence of many, but rather it is the first that really sets up the fundamental answer to the question that we're asking. So if we want to find the source of Nechama, if we want to learn what Nechama means, then we have to look at the first place that the word Nechama, or the concept of Nechama, takes place in the Torah HaKadosha. Now, surprisingly, the first word, the first time that Nechama arises, is towards the end of Parshas Bereishis, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks out on the world that He has created. He looks out on a world that started off with Gan Eden, and suddenly, in a very quick series of unfortunate events, descends into the Dor HaMabul, into a generation of lying, of thievery, of lack of interest in the other, self-interest, and all sorts of destructive human tendencies. And at this point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu seemingly looks at the experiment, Kavyachol, of reality, and Vayinachim Hashem, and Hashem changes his mind. Hashem regrets, to one degree or another, the fact that he has created the world, and he decides that it's time to destroy the world. Vayinachem, in this context, is seen as Hashem has changed his mind. So the first instantiation of the notion of Nechama, irrespective of the fact that in this context it's a shift from a positive to a negative, we see, says Rav Moshe Shapiro Zchus Yogen Aleinu, that the word Nechama implies a shifting of consciousness or a changing of the mind. Now again, what it means that Hashem changed his mind, the Sfasem, that's all of the tzaddikim talk about this, doesn't mean he actually changed his mind, but rather there was a revelation of a new way of dealing with the world. But for our purposes, what we have is the notion that Nechama, the concept of comfort, is very simply changing one's mind. And so when a person is capable of looking at whatever situation they find themselves in, let's speak about Gullus for a second. In order for Gullus to be relevant to us, in order for Gullus to be something that we're trying to break free of, we have to understand what Gullus means, and we have to understand that the very concept of Gullus has not been expressed fully until it has been expressed in my own personal life. Each and every person has to understand that I know what Gullus is more than anybody else. Ani b'soich hagoyla. My experience in this world is an experience of exile. The difficulty that I have, the pain that I feel in this world, the fear, all of the different things that affect me, that's the definition of Gullus. Yes, there's a collective Gullus, but until I can identify my own Gullus, I'm not going to appreciate the necessity of breaking free from the collective Gullus. So first and foremost, I have to live with a karve el nafshi gi'olai, that I need my own redemption from my own exile. Exile is a place of constriction, a place of darkness, a place of feeling that things don't go the way I want, a place of loss, a place of missed expectations and failed expectations and missed appointments and resentments and hidden desires for things that we don't have, and a frustration and an anger and a traumatization of things and people and circumstances in our lives that have led us to the place of dysfunction or disappointment or whatever the baggage that we're carrying is. To begin to change my mind, to begin to have Nechama, is to look at my life differently. Not to get rid of the suffering, not to get rid of the struggle that I go through, but to realize, you know what, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, perhaps in this difficult moment, perhaps in this difficult thing that I've been overwhelmed by over and over, perhaps I can begin to look at it differently. Perhaps my thinking has been contributing to the problem. Perhaps the way that I look at exile is the thing that has made exile so difficult. And when we can find the hidden secret of light that is available to us at every moment, and the secret of joy that comes from Gamzu Latova, that this is also for the good, when I'm able to look at Gullus in whatever circumstance it is and see that it's just another expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that way it's Vayinachem. I can change the way I think, I can change my mind, and I can begin to see what appears to be negative as simply the percolation and the incubation of a light that is so powerful that it can only come about after all of the intensity precedes it. And after all is said and done, we're going to be Zoicha to an Or Chadash Al Tzion Tire, and it's going to be a darga of Ayin Ba'ayin. Each person is going to see with their own eyes, Ki B'shuv Hashem Tzion, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one returning to these places that seem to be so difficult, and Be'ezras Hashem, we will have the ability to change our mind entirely, like the Megillah of Esther, which changed our entire mind. So too we're going to have our own Megillas V'Nahapechu, and we're going to see how Gullus itself was the opportunity to find Hashem in an even deeper way than imaginable.